like I've said before many times, this is a work in progress. Okay, perfect. Hello everybody, I hope you can see me. If you can, just put something in the comments, in the live chat, so I can see. Once again, we're not looking for refined and polished here. This is very much a work in progress, and this mount for the local stream is a perfect example. Okay, I just gotta raise this up for a second and turn this down, and I don't know. All right, thank you. Well, I think that's okay. The problem is I'm trying to get the cameras so they're both centered, and so I'm not looking at one or the other, and no matter what I do, I lose. So it never really works perfectly, but as long as you guys can see me and hear me and everything is fine, I want to wish you all a good morning. And once again, I hope this is, if yesterday wasn't the best morning of your weekend, maybe it's today. Maybe this is going to be the best morning of your entire week, or at least the best morning of the day. And I say that for a couple of reasons. You know, it's really important, at least from my perspective, that we kind of focus on a lot of the positives that are happening in the world. We see and hear all the negative rhetoric, all the problems that are going on, all that sort of stuff, and we get that. And we're dealing with a lot of issues in Canada. Oh, you guys can see me. Great. Good morning. Good morning, Robin, Sonia. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. So I really want to focus on kind of that sort of positive vibe, despite all the ancillary nonsense that we have to deal with. And we will deal with it. We'll work through it. But that's also part of the vibe that, you know, I and Tamara specifically, because she's very much in this framework, like we definitely link on this thing, on this issue of really the positive energy. And sometimes people overplay it, and sometimes it's disingenuous, but in our case, it very much is so, because it's really the only way we're going to get through this stuff. You can't get through dealing with authoritarianism, extremism, all that sort of stuff, all the problems that we're doing, the big ones and small ones, if you're permanently in a state of anxiety. Like, that is not the mindset we need to be in to tackle difficult issues. The best way to do it is to be able to focus on the positives. So I apologize for those of you who think it's obnoxious. Somebody told me that in a Twitter space last week, that, oh, you're always so positive. But, I mean, that's the path forward, right? DJ, good to see you, brother. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining. So, yeah, that's the, that's why I want to start it on an upbeat frame and focus on that positive frame so we can, you know, get through this stuff together and not get bogged down in anxiety. I guess I'm just working out the kinks. Today I'm streaming to Fakebook. That's kind of just a test that we'll see if it worked afterwards. I can't seem to get the Rumble RTMP settings, as well as Getter. I've sent a thing to their support. So once I have those platforms set up, I may just abandon Fakebook. Those of you who know, who've sent me messages and received a response 6 weeks later, I don't use Fakebook. It's there as a placeholder to manage some pages that I'm involved with. That's all it's for. So I don't really, I don't use it. Telegram, last thing, Telegram messages for people who are sending me messages over Telegram. I get them, but Telegram, I'm in so many different groups. That's really what I use it for. Either group admin or, you know, just to get different information, news feeds, that sort of stuff. I don't really use it personally because it's a little bit, not that it's clunky, just everything is all grouped together. And, you know, I open my Telegram and it says 3,000 new messages. I mean, how long until I'm able to comb through all of that stuff and sort it out. So Sonia hates Telegram. I mean, it's good and bad. Let's not do hate. There are a few things in life worth hating. I think Telegram has its advantages for certain applications. All platforms do. I'm sure even Facebook has some advantages. But just that's my limited capacity, that if people are trying to reach me over Telegram, that's really not the way to, if you want a fairly reasonable response. Some of you have found me over Instagram, which was really kind of more of a personal platform, deciding if I'm actually going to do something with it or not, because it's a whole Facebook meta platform, which I'm not in love with. But anyways, I will more on all of that coming forward. I had to delete it. It was overwhelming. Yeah, Sonia, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the last in terms of the feeds, there. If you go to honkingforfreedom.locals.com, you'll be able to see me streaming on Locals, which is this camera right here. That's set up to the iPad. I'm going to be, over time, doing some things more special and unique to Locals. Not for a little while. If you want to follow me on Locals or watch the stream on Locals, I created a free subscription promo code, and Pam's trying to figure it out. She couldn't, but I think we just sorted out what happened. The promo code is the word free in capital letters and the number 6. And you basically click on subscribe like you're going to pay. It opens up the payment window, and you click on the add promo code. And if you enter the promo code, one word, capital free, and the number 6, it should allow you to subscribe there for free. Again, it'll be a little bit easier for people who want to send direct messages or post comments to the chat, because I do anticipate this platform, like all the others, getting a little bit overwhelmed. Like Twitter is, there's a few groups I'm in Twitter that I'll see when people are messaging me, but much like Telegram, it gets a little bit overwhelming when you open up and all of a sudden there's 100 messages, and half of them are people sending me their fake Bitcoin wallet because they're trying to hack my Bitcoin, which is, anybody who's in Bitcoin knows exactly what that is. So the title today is, why did Prime Minister Blackface cut his hair? And do his Lloyd Christmas imitation. For those of you who don't know the reference, that's the movie Dumb and Dumber. The first thing I just want to say, I don't want this to become just another Trudeau hate channel. There's an abundance of that. Much of it is funded by the Conservative Party activists and stuff like that. And I get that. That's fine. That's the tactic they're going to use for messaging. But that's not what this is about. So yesterday, there's a couple of things I'm going to address specifically on this topic. So first is, yesterday discussed the Trudeau conspiracy theory, or it might be conspiracy fact, might not be, that he's the love child of Fidel Castro. Because Joe Rogan had mentioned this, and this has been going around for quite a while. Today I'm going to argue the opposite. Because I think it's important to always understand there's always usually at least 2 perspectives on a topic, usually far more than 2. I mean, that's one of the problems we have in this world, is everybody thinks it's a good guy, bad guy world, and the world is more complex than that. So I'm going to start, and don't get angry, this is going to get some of you angry, I'm going to start by complimenting Trudeau. And what I mean, we always have to understand that everybody has faults, and even the worst people have some positives. So I want to show that we're not always binary and in an echo chamber. We got to understand that there are different aspects to all of our characters. So Justin Trudeau, I don't know him personally. Do I like what he's done politically? No, I think he's as dangerous as the Third Reich, and I don't think he's wise enough to understand that. So he's got a lot of faults. And again, on all the Trudeau hate channels, you'll see that. But, sometimes as an exercise, as a mental exercise, I try to do this thing where I force myself onto the other side and think, okay, what are the positives of this person? What's something that I could say are good, even though maybe everything else is overwhelming and negative from my perspective. And I guess what I came up with is Justin Trudeau is probably, I don't know this for a fact, but he's probably a great dad. He's probably a great father. Because think about it. He's very Peter Pan-ish. He's a little bit, I don't want to say childish. Yeah, he's narcissistic and all that sort of stuff. But you saw that in the original campaign where people got a little bit duped by him because you saw the playfulness of his personality. You didn't see the dark side of his personality, which has come out now. So that leads me to believe he's probably a great dad, or kids probably love hanging around with him. Okay, see that as a may. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. But it's important not always to put everybody in the good versus evil echo chambers. Having said that, the Joe Rogan conspiracy, just to re-explain this, the idea is that, Pierre, his father or stepfather, and Margaret, I think is his mother's name. I don't really know. I don't delve much into people's families. I think it's usually got to be pretty private, unless you're authoritarian extremists, perhaps. But they were, very known to be since the very early 70s children of the 60s, open-minded, very socially liberal, swinging couple. And they were enamored, both of them were enamored with Fidel Castro, which should have been red flags right off the get-go. That should have been a problem for people, but whatever. For some reason, Canadians didn't understand that that's an issue, or a subsection of Canadians didn't understand that was an issue. And the idea is that they, during their numerous interactions, some on the record, some off the record, that there was a little bit of a little funny business going on behind the scenes that didn't involve very much clothes. And this was an era where, freedom and love and all that sort of stuff, and just one thing happens, a mistake happens or whatever, or accidentally, intentionally, who knows. And, well, there you have Justin, the love child. Okay? That's the conspiracy. That's what the conspiracy says. Now, there's other people on the other side who, I've spoken to two of them in the past 2 days, from that generation who were in the media at that time, or maybe a little bit younger than, but I think they're in the media at that time, both of them. One who's dead set against it, one who is dead set for it. And the one against it explained to me that, from his perspective, that there's no way that they were just recently married when they met Castro, which I'm not sure that's might be a non sequitur, but maybe not. I don't know. And that the media was watching their every move like hawks all over them, and they wouldn't anything they did was completely scrutinized by a media that was putting all of their resources into it because they were treating Trudeau like a celebrity, and everybody wanted to know what Pierre Trudeau would be, putting in his coffee that morning. Like, it was that scrutinized. That could be. I mean, that is the perspective of the people who are on the other side. And by the way, this person does not like Trudeau either. This is very important. This is not a supporter of Trudeau's. And then, so those are kind of the two sides. Then, I said there's often numerous perspectives on every issue, just about. And what's interesting, and you hear people talking about it. Nick Bostrom came up with this theory or thesis many years ago, or at least he was the first person to comment on it and do the mathematics of it. But you hear Elon Musk talking about, and you don't laugh, I know you think this is crazy, but Elon Musk talks about that him, Scott Adams, a bunch of other people focus on this issue or this question, are we living in a simulation like the Matrix? It's a little bit out there. I get it. I know they have mathematics that proves in their mind that it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And okay, fine. But again, that's just another perspective. And why does this relate to Trudeau? Well, they talk about it's a simulation, and then often there are breaks in the simulations. There's breaks in the code, or it basically copies and pastes the code. And that is what we see in terms of coincidences in the universe. That coincidences, there's a lot of people who don't believe in coincidences. I do. And they will justify those coincidences by saying, well, that's a break in the code of the simulation. So let's take the third perspective of those people. Perhaps the fact that Justin Trudeau looks almost identical to Fidel Castro when he was younger. Is that a break in the simulation code? Maybe. But I'm just trying to offer another perspective, that things aren't necessarily binary, left or right, black or white, that there's a whole variety of different opinions and perspectives on topics. But that leads me to the point of all of this. Again, this is not an I hate Trudeau topic. That topic will come in from time to time, especially with what we're going to discuss tomorrow. But I'm going to try to get away from that a little bit, and we need to discuss more. We got to discuss Bitcoin, where we're going, what the future of Canada is, how we're going to get to this, enlightened age that we're headed towards, all these good things that are happening that we need to discuss. But back to this. So why do you think Prime Minister Blackface, the most racist person to hold office in Canadian history, and by the way, I don't doubt that. He is by far the most racist person to hold office in Canadian history. He can still be a good father and be a racist piece of garbage. You can be both, right? So they're not mutually exclusive. So why did he do it? Well, apparently, according to somebody who, as you know, I get lots of messages from all over, inside politics, outside politics, all that sort of stuff. I'm dealing with a lot of farmers right now, actually sending me information. At a political event out west, there was somebody there who was the person who cut his hair. Cut his hair, or was at the shop where he cut his hair. And according to this source, the reason Justin Trudeau cut his hair to look like Lloyd Christmas, Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber, was because he got tired of people comparing him in that photo set to Fidel Castro. It was getting under his skin. It was really bothering him. So he needed to do something with his hair to look completely different, which is ironic since when he was elected, all the CBC was fawning over were these horrible articles, meaningless articles about how wonderful his hair was. Well, he now sees that as an obstacle because he was being compared to Fidel Castro because of his hair. Think about that. Now, you're probably thinking what I was thinking. Does he know he still has the same face? I don't know that he realizes that just changing your hair doesn't change who you are and what you look like. And is this story true? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, there's no way of knowing. The only people who would know are the people who were actually in that room. And were those the people? I don't know. They say they were. I mean, it's funny, but we'll never know if that is true or not. But just as an interesting thought exercise, let's assume it is true. If it's true, it's hysterical. Come on. You can't tell me that's not the funniest thing you ever heard, that Justin Trudeau fawning over his hair. Oh, the great-looking guy got sick and tired of looking good, so wanted to make himself look like Dumb and Dumber so he doesn't get compared to Fidel Castro. That is hysterical. But what is concerning is if that's true, that really confirms the weakness of his thought process that we've all been very concerned with. This is the person who apparently is leading a country, a G7 country. Now, most of us who are in Parliament, anybody who's on Parliament Hill, they all know he's not calling the shots. Everybody knows. It's the worst kept secret in politics, and it has been the worst kept secret from politics from day one. I'll tell you a little story about the Liberal Party. Because don't think I and other people don't have friends within the Liberal Party as well who are equally concerned. Now, they know I'm more conservative and they share some of our values, but there are people who are in politics as a career. So when Justin was first elected, this is how it was explained to me. They had their first caucus meetings, which I believe are held on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday mornings. So they have this first caucus meeting, and apparently the way it works is each member of parliament gets a stack of bills and their comments and their rebuttals. That's why it's all scripted. That's why, they wonder, why don't people watch question period? Because it's all fake. It's all just scripted back and forth. They know what the other guy's going to say. They have rebuttals prepared. It's completely disingenuous. It's a big problem with our system. So they have all their paperwork and the bills stacked up for each member of parliament. I guess they get it to their chief of staff in their office or whatever it is. And apparently on the top sheet, there's some sort of summation. And if I'm wrong, somebody who's in government can explain this and tell me where I'm wrong. But this is as it was explained to me. They'll have a summation of all the bills and, what they're going to vote on, yes, no, blah, blah, blah. And then it has a copy of each one and all that sort of stuff. That's how it kind of works. It's not perfectly accurate, but I'm trying to simplify it for all of us to understand. So they have the first caucus meeting, and normally the caucus meeting is only for elected officials, no one else. No one in the party, no presidents of the parties, no donors. Because of that, you don't want it to be polluted with outside influence. This is a meeting just for elected members, the representatives of the ridings, to hash out what bills they're doing. This is how they're voting. And some parties, there's some votes that the whip basically says you have to vote this way, and there's other votes that are open votes. And we live in an era where everything is whipped now. So they're kind of pseudo dictatorships in the parties. The leader wants A, that's it. You have to vote for it. Again, another problem. There's a whole layer of problems right now. So Justin comes in and he sits down, apparently in front of all of caucus, and he says, okay, what are we voting on and how are we voting? And then everybody in caucus looks at each other and says, uh-oh, I think we have a problem. He's the leader. He's supposed to be telling us what to do. He clearly had no clue what their positions were, what they were going to do, and apparently he's quite lazy, from what I'm understanding. But what was in the meeting as well was Jerry Butts. Many people in Parliament Hill refer to Jerry Butts as Justin Trudeau's brain. That's been his best friend for many years. They were in college together, and he was the chief of staff. And what was highly unusual, apparently, is Jerry Butts came into that meeting, and he said to everybody in caucus, if you send a message to me, it's like you're talking to the Prime Minister. And all the Liberal members were looking around saying, why is he here? He's not elected. He's not a member of caucus. This is a caucus meeting. And Justin just reaffirmed, no, I've allowed him to be here. I want him to be here in all our meetings and all that sort of stuff. So that was as soon as they were elected. And it's just careened downhill since then. So he's probably a great dad. He is extremely racist. He clearly has never seen the movie Mississippi Burning or have any knowledge of the Deep South and problems in the Deep South in the United States. By the way, a foreign country, which is why anyone who thinks the Confederate flag has any meaning in Canada is a complete moron and is educated just by watching the movies. And there's a shockingly high amount of that in politics, which is really concerning. How long are we into this? I think we're going to shut it down soon. I'm going to finish off I'll skip this for tomorrow. I think I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to do this every day, but I'm going to do this regularly. Please put your comments in there. In the comments, there's a little bit of a delay. There's like a 20-second delay. This is for you guys, for all of us to kind of talk to each other, build this platform, this forum, to focus on all the positivity that is here. We're going to acknowledge the negative things, but we're going to put together some positive solutions, and I'm going to get to that moving forward. I got to get a whiteboard in here at some point because there's a few things I want to lay out. We will win this with positivity, and I've spoken to some people in the farming world who are really concerned right now in Canada, and we've really converged on that. Sonia, so much corruption. Yeah, you know, it's funny, Sonia, like whenever I go to Latin America, those of you know me know I spend a lot of time there, and I quite love it there. And all my friends there always tell me, oh, you know, hay mucho corrupción aquí. There's so much corruption here, not like Canada. And I always tell them that no. There's just as much, if not more, corruption in the Western world, because there's more power and money at stake than in the third world, right? Right on, Sonia. I agree with you. Okay, so a couple of questions, and okay, so this was first question was to Substack. It was thank you. This was about an earlier article. Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it. This was about one of the earlier Substacks I did. The first two Substack articles I laid out the days leaving the hotel. Everyone's, oh, you left Ottawa. No, I left the hotel. I stayed in the Ottawa area. But anyways, so the comment was, this was, I think, response to the first one. And if you haven't followed, go to bjdictor.substack.com. That's the Honking For Freedom newsletter. That's going to become increasingly more important over time, and you'll understand why. So thank you for this well-written article of government overreach and police overreach, which has changed the political landscape in Canada and, unfortunately, the way many of us view the police going forward. And that is a good point, and I'll tell you why that's an important point. Because, and I mentioned this in a couple of interviews during the convoy, this, and some of you know, I have family in policing, so I'm very sympathetic to the complications of what goes on behind the scenes in policing, because I don't know everything, but I get a general sense, and, you know, they'll explain to me kind of, you know, between the lines, some of the politicization that goes on, that certain members of parliament are constantly calling police superintendents to try to get police doing their bidding or interfering in investigations, by the way. And this is something the higher-ups in police should be pushing back against, but they don't, because they're politicians. Somebody like Brenda Lackey, is it Lackey? Is there, whatever her name is. She's a good example of it, but she's not by no means the only one. And something you guys may not know, there's a police union, and then there's a police union for chiefs and deputy chiefs. Different police unions. So what we've done is we've created a divide between the brass in policing and everybody who's on, I guess it's inspector down, that they are with a completely different union with different grievances, which is part of the reason that and these public police boards, which should just be deleted and canceled and just go back to what we used to have. But that would require some strength and fortitude. But Doug Ford is a fat turd and a coward. Sorry, guys, but he just did. That's what he is. So I mentioned this during the one or two of the interviews, that the convoy was the opportunity for police. They were dealing with this defund the policing, violence in policing, and most of it is politicized nonsense, and we know that. This was the opportunity for the police to show that they're participants in the community. They understand the right to protest, much like they understood the right to protest for Black Lives Matter or all of these other organizations. Well, this was the opportunity to show the people who normally back the blue, your own supporters, truckers. Like, look, the truckers and police interact quite frequently on the road, and they know each other. They know each other's cultures. So this was the opportunity for the police to stand by and say, the politicians have created this mess. This requires a political solution, which is what Chief Soley initially did in that conference in Ottawa City Council, which we have a recording of, which is going to be a problem for them, by the way, where he explained exactly that this was an opportunity for the police to say, we're not politicized, we're going to allow the politicians to deal with the mess that they make. So Soley was cast aside, and I think I mentioned that in the stream at one point, but I'll talk more about that at some point. And they brought in this little bald guy who is a kiss ass and will do what any politicians say because he wants a promotion, right? Fine. What did he do? He single-handedly destroyed the reputation of police around the world for the whole world to see on camera, and attacked the segment of the population that supports police and supports our troops. Because many truckers, as you know, I've mentioned before, many of them are veterans. Many of them come from military families. It's amazing that somebody, if I can swear for a second, please don't get upset. It's amazing that somebody can be such a colossal fuck up and single-handedly destroy the reputation of policing all over the world and still be employed anywhere. It's amazing. So that's why that's an important point. Sorry, I get a little fired up about it, just because I know what so many police officers deal with, because I got a lot of friends who are cops as well, and it's just a nightmare what's going on behind the scene, how politicized and bureaucratic it's become. Yeah, Maddie, 100%. Maddie says the interim police chief is dangerous. Yeah, he also knows very little about history, and he would have been very happy living in Germany during the 1930s. Okay, next, this was an epic podcast, a quintessential Canadian last stand. The world watched the truckers drive across Canada, brave the cold, stand up for our rights peacefully. It broke the somber mood of the country and gave people hope. Remember, positivity. We knew the honking would be so powerful. Sorry, who knew the honking would be so powerful? Thank you and bravo. And that's exactly, there's a video I've posted a whole bunch of times and told people, like, this has got to be the theme of the Freedom Convoy. And it's very powerful. I'll post it in the link somewhere sometime soon. Or maybe I'll do an intro with it once I figure out how to do it. But that's it. Everybody was, trapped in their homes in most cities across Canada for 2 years. And this was the opportunity to get out. And it worked so well. That's why you saw these, not only truckers, but supporters from Quebec come into Ontario, and other truckers from out west, from northern BC, Alberta, and Winnipeg, and they formed friendships. They couldn't speak to each other because the French ones couldn't speak English and vice versa. But, Google translates there. They figured out a way to talk to each other. They were helping each other make signs. They were feeding each other, barbecuing together, having beers together. Like, it was amazing. It was so good. It's because everybody was trapped and everybody wanted to get out. And that's why, it's going to be peaceful for that reason. Also, the culture of trucking. I was thinking about maybe discussing that because, as I'm not a lifelong trucker. I've been, basically white collar, office entrepreneur for most of my life, and have gotten into this later on. And it's interesting to learn from other truckers who've been in the industry for 20, 30 years, because I talk to all of them. They're great dudes, mostly in Americans, because most of the time I'm in the U.S. But let me know if you want me to talk more about the culture of trucking, because it's not what you think it is. It's not what central casting and what Hollywood wants you to believe. It's more similar in my experience to the aviation world and the corporatization. I don't say that in a negative way. Maybe the modern structurization of trucking is more similar to what's happened to aviation in the 1960s. It's really quite fascinating. Third question, a couple more, and then I'm going to end. Why don't you have a TikTok account? Okay, yeah, so this is making me a little nuts during the Freedom Convoy, by the way, because so many of the truckers were using TikTok, and they use TikTok because the algorithm's manipulated. When it shows that you're getting 30,000 views, you're not getting 30,000 views. You're getting 3,000 views. But you're getting 27,000 bots that will post scripted comments. It's completely artificial. But that's not why I don't use TikTok. The whole premise of the Freedom Convoy was freedom from mandates and freedom from data tracking with this ArriveCan app, right? I can't exactly go on, national TV in the United States and talk about this authoritarian surveillance and power grab from the Canadian government with their ArriveCan and then use Chinese spyware. Because that's what TikTok is. It's Chinese spyware. It's going directly to the CCP, the Communist Party of China. I can't put that on my phone and then say I want freedom from authoritarianism. So it was making me crazy. What are you guys doing on TikTok? I get it. You don't like Mark Zuckerberg, and believe me, I'm not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sympathetic to some of his situations and his predicaments, but I'm not a fan. But going to the CCP, that is not the alternative. And it was just making me crazy. So, anyways, I'm going to end it. It wants me to do a software update. Stop that. I'm going to end things now. Just a couple of closing comments. Follow me on Twitter, Getter. Locals is the honkingforfreedom.locals.com. The promo code to get access for free is free6. That's important just for censorship issues. That's why I'm trying to build on these other platforms, just in case something happens to YouTube, then, okay, whatever, I'm done with YouTube. And then Substack, bjdictor.com. My last thing I want to ask you is, how is that? How is that stream? I'm trying to address some negative issues in a positive light, so we can, make fun of them and feel better about ourselves and not allow it to impact every part of the day of our lives, right? We'll deal with adversity like we deal with all sorts of adversity in our lives and not let it bring us down into this negative headspace that I see a lot of people falling into. We'll get through this. But I just hope this has been a positive stream for you. If it hasn't, please tell me. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Any other things you want me to do or talk about? I mean, a whole list of topics that can cover months. Clarification on Freedom Convoy stuff, which I'm trying to address. Behind the scenes political stuff that I'm aware of. I don't know everything of course. I know just a small tidbit. And so we get to have our coffee together. Because, sorry, I'm one of those guys who's addicted to coffee. So thank you, everybody. It's running late. I got to go. I got a busy day ahead of me, and somebody's already messaging me. I'll talk to you all soon, and I love all of you guys. Bye-bye.